Is Jay-Z really in the Illuminati? Is Donald Trump? Is Katy Perry? Am I? Everyone from the BBC to Beyoncé has been accused of being part of the Illuminati, a secret group said to comprise of the world's most powerful people seeking to establish a new world order. Even if you haven't heard of the Illuminati, chances are you've probably seen one of the symbols associated with them. Pentagrams, goats, even the all-seeing eye that's found on US banknotes. References have also cropped up in music videos, such as Rihanna's S&M, which featured a fake newspaper with a headline declaring her Princess of the Illuminati. So why do musicians and artists like to play around with references to the Illuminati?
I think quite simply, they're just having fun. They're just entertained by these stories, like many of us are. I'm reminded of a conspiracy theory from 1966 that Paul McCartney of the Beatles had died in a car crash on the way home after doing some recording. And he'd been replaced by a Canadian DJ who looked a lot like him and quickly learned to play the bass and sing. Paul McCartney has never denied this conspiracy theory. He's always kept quiet about it. And I think McCartney, like Jay-Z, Rihanna and others, is just entertained by the story.
So who are the Illuminati? Are they really a shadowy elite who control the world? The Illuminati were, to the best of our knowledge, a Bavarian secret society formed in the 18th century. It opposed superstition, religious influence, and state authority. They even created a rule book which stated that the order of the day is to put an end to the machinations of the purveyors of injustice, to control them without dominating them. The Bavarian group eventually faded into irrelevance and has nothing to do with modern concepts of the Illuminati. The conspiracy theory that we know about today stems from the Discordian movement. The story goes that Discordianism began in 1965 in the office of a Texas drug attorney. Two schoolmates, Greg Hill and Kerry Thornley, used the office photocopier to publish copies of the Principia Discordia, the movement's founding text. The book promoted the idea that chaos is as important as order, and Discordianism gathered steam throughout the 60s and 70s, with Hill and Thornley actively trying to cause mischief and spread disinformation. Their mission was expanded even further by two other Americans, a writer called Robert Anton Wilson and his friend Robert Shea.
Wilson was editor at Playboy, and the two of them decided they would write a novel, and they would throw all of the great conspiracy theories into this novel and call it Illuminatus. And in fact, they enjoyed it so much they turned it into a trilogy. They decided that it would be fun to try and spread a little chaos and misinformation deliberately about the Illuminati. And they did this by writing letters to the mainstream press, by writing letters to fanzines, which were popular at the time, but also through the letters page of Playboy itself.
They would also write in letters from imaginary readers saying that the Illuminati weren't real at all, or were kind of sitting on the fence. It didn't really matter. What did matter is that all these people seemed to be generating this conversation about the Illuminati. And the idea was that you, as the reader, were supposed to question that, interrogate it, ask, are they really real? The myth travelled far and wide. Wilson and Shea's The Illuminatus trilogy attributed some of the mysteries of the time, such as who shot John F. Kennedy, to the Illuminati. Although the multitude of conspiracy theories that appear in the trilogy are imaginary, they're blended with enough truth to make them seem plausible. Probably the oddest theory was the suggestion that Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, assassinated George Washington and assumed his identity as president of the USA. Believers of this theory point to Washington's portrait on the US $1 bill, which they suggest is actually the face of Weishaupt. Despite its lack of mainstream sales, the trilogy became a cult favorite. It was even made into a mammoth 8-hour stage play in Liverpool, launching the careers of British actors Bill Nighy and Jim Broadbent. The 70s print magazine culture seems distant now from our globalized, hyper-connected internet, but Illuminati rumors are still rife on websites such as 4chan and Reddit, where believers swap their favorite versions of the conspiracy and champion evidence to prove it's still in existence. Ultimately, it's not down to a shadowy elite whether you choose to believe in the Illuminati conspiracy theory or not. It's up to you.
of finding the graves of children is always heartbreaking. I specialize in the ground penetrating radar, but there are a lot of other things that go into understanding where children might be buried around a residential school landscape.
Keisha Supernet is one of the only Indigenous archaeologists in Canada. For the last few months, her work has been at the center of a national reckoning. In May, an Indigenous community in Kamloops, British Columbia found more than 200 likely graves of children who were forced to attend a boarding school for Indigenous kids. The next month, 751 more were found in Saskatchewan. The discovery sparked a hunt for unmarked graves in other sites, like this one near a former hospital.
When we're looking for unmarked graves, we want to make sure that we're covering every part of the ground. And we'll pull this along and then move 25 centimeters over and pull it along.
Like mowing a lawn.
Like mowing a lawn. So as you walk, it starts to build a picture of what's happening. You know, so between here and here, something's different in the soil. We can get a hint of it here. Then we take it back, we download the data, we do some analysis, and then we can say, okay, this looks like a grave. After the news out of Kamloops, everybody wanted that work to start. I'm doing my best to help as many communities as I can.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yes, no school ground has been fully searched yet. No investigation is anywhere near being complete. So we have barely scratched the surface, and there are thousands of graves left to search and to investigate and to understand.
For more than a century, Indigenous children across Canada and the US were forced to attend residential boarding schools, funded by the government and primarily run by churches. In Canada, lawmakers were explicit about their goals to, quote, get rid of the Indian problem. Children were cut off from their families and traditions. They were also punished for speaking their native languages. By the time the last school closed in the mid-1990s, an estimated 150,000 children had gone through the system. Thousands of them were never seen again. In recent years, the Canadian government has begun to acknowledge the horrors of that time. But this year's discoveries are forcing many to face the full scale of the repression and brutality of the schools.
Back there in the back, we weren't allowed to go. Boys wandered all over, but they shouldn't have. And back here, believe it or not, we actually had a pool back here in the 50s. They built it in the 50s when I was here.
Roberta Hill was only 6 years old when she was taken to the Mohawk Institute in 1957, along with 5 of her siblings.
See all these names up here? They'd have this fire escape come all the way down here, and that's why you see all those up there, because when you're coming down the fire escape, you could reach those bricks. So I know some of them names.
So you know the girls who wrote them?
I know the Lillian and Barb. Barb's still my sister's best friend. Lillian, she passed away. She was married, had children, and she just committed suicide.
Sorry.
She was nice. I liked Lillian. And that's what people have to understand. They look at us as old survivors, right? Think of us when we were little. We were little guys, you know? Parents weren't told, here's what we're going to do to your kids when you drop your kids off. Here's what we're really going to do to them. That's not spoken of. They tell you that we're going to feed your children, we're going to look after them, we're going to educate them. And so it's very false and misleading what they were saying, because that is not the truth.
What is it like to come back here to this place?
I've been away from here, like away from this particular site for so many years, I just didn't bother with it. It could be just a cruel place, and so you have to know how to really stick up for yourself. You know, you're a little kid. You don't have any adults to protect you. Adults can do what they want.
The Mohawk.
Yeah, you get it. So I mean, there's more to the video, but anyway, I'm gonna go to the next video now.
The only reason to deny the Holocaust is to inculcate and foster anti-Semitism. The Holocaust has the dubious distinction of being the best documented genocide in the world. So for anybody to disbelieve, they've got to come to it with some sort of preconceived notion. Holocaust denial takes different forms. And I divided into hardcore Holocaust denial and softcore Holocaust denial. Hardcore Holocaust denial is the argument made by deniers that there was no planned, centralized program of annihilation of the Jews by the Nazis. That this whole idea of eliminating the Jews from the European continent and beyond never happened. You would ask them, well, why would the Jews make up this myth? Is that they did it for financial gain and to get the sympathy of the world in order to get a state. That in and of itself makes Holocaust denial a form of anti-Semitism, because the rationale they give to get money and to get a state are, of course, at the center of the stereotypes associated with anti-Semitism. But softcore denial does not deny the Holocaust. There were people who would say, well, of course the Holocaust happened, but was it really 6 million? Of course the Holocaust happened, but were there really gas chambers? I think any thoughtful person today knows that that's a ridiculous kind of thing. First of all, for deniers to be right, who has to be wrong? Well, certainly all the survivors. You have the bystanders. But most of all, you have the perpetrators. What they said was, I didn't do it. I was only following orders. So they had these different excuses, but they never said it didn't happen. The audience often are anti-Semites who are looking to have their feelings confirmed, or people who might not be overt anti-Semites, but somehow are discomforted with the idea of Jew as victim. This is an attack on society at large. In almost every society where they've gone after Jews first, they've gone after other people after that. Prejudice has to be fought, and amongst those prejudice, anti-Semitism has to be fought.
I was born.
There is a small war underway on a street in Philadelphia tonight.
There was gunshots, thousands of rounds of bullets from the police.
Police moved in with tear gas and water cannon.
They wanted to kill our children.
I had recommended to use an explosive entry device.
The house shook. Smoke was coming in, so we knew they dropped the bomb on us.
Police allowed the blaze to burn an hour and a half before calling in firefighters.
I don't care what they said. There was no justification for what they did.
They done burn up 2 blocks. Explain that.
I never imagined that the government would drop a bomb on a row house in Philadelphia.
It's an embarrassment to the city of Philadelphia.
My name is Ramona Africa, and I was there when the police dropped a bomb on me and my family May 13th of 1985 and killed 11 of my family members. I was there.
Alright, so you got that. You want the rest of it, But pretty much
I
they told you what
was
happened.
born and raised in West Philadelphia. I went to Temple University, and I was
Wow, nigga. Know what I hate the most? A bunch of
cartoons with some racist quotes and subliminal messages of racist jokes. Kinda funny how the money not ours. Yeah, the money not ours. All the white motherfuckers got power. While the black motherfuckers got talent. Trying to get respect that'll never be valid. Never be valid. Even if you had level 3 clearance. Even if you had Hillary's parents. Even if you were a rap star. Even if you had 10 cars. And even if you had a red Porsche and a 747 with 10 flaws and the best horse. Even if you were a ball player playing for the Clippers, just imagine how you would feel if you would Doc Rivers with a boss like the racist motherfucker Donna stealing out and in and out of feelings. How sad is it? Yeah, how bad is it when your boss got billions of cash and shit, and you stuck at the bottom, you ain't half as rich, fighting to be equal in a battle with another race in this land full of happiness. Another day trying to race to establish this. Another way, gotta wait for an activist to come and say how we feel. Ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit? But meanwhile, I got morals to stand up for. Can't cause I got a daughter to man up for. Gotta bite my tongue. What a life is young. If you a black entertainer, it'd be nice to run and shit, but you not shit till the fight is done. And that's just with the icing on the cake. If we didn't break, we'd be twice as strong. And now it's twice as hard to be a half nigga living in this life of darkness. So the black kids looking at me like I'm awkward because I'm too light to be on one side of the streets. And I play both parts like hide and go seek. Malcolm X gave hope of getting out of the streets, and Rosa Parks wasn't never getting out of a seat. Guess we here for life. And I heard Mr. Sterling got banned for life from the NBA, and he can sell the team if they don't take away the heat from his self-esteem. We gonna help us see. In a helpless time with no help, trying to help us side. If we in hell or in jail, can't yell or cry, can't scream or tell, but they can tell us lies, nigga.
Alright, and there goes that, So, yeah. Now I'm going to go to the other video. Or my video.
I said this line about certain things, like being mixed has hardships. This is the title that I made. This is the comment I made. There is hardship in being mixed. Two cultures in your head with all the negatives you get from inside perspectives with outside treatment. There is hardship in being mixed. Two cultures in your head with all the negatives you get from inside perspective with outside treatment. That is the thing that a lot of mixed people have to deal with. Having an inside perspective of both cultures with the negative thing of outside treatment from both cultures, in a sense, I don't know. Like, both cultures want you to have this negative outlook on this culture that you love, Both want you to hate each side of the culture. In a sense, it's not where it's like, oh, I just want you to hate this. It's not like that. It's like a person who says they're, like, let's say you're in a group of people and you're talking about something, and then someone from the outside comes in and talks about, just comes in and interrupts the conversation without knowing, and talks about the opposite thing of what you was talking. You would be upset, right? Well, that's how a mixed person, you talk the opposite of what your culture has told you about the culture that they're involved in. I don't know what I'm trying to. It's a tough subject. I'm not smart enough to talk about. It's difficult. So yeah, that's the thing. Mixed people always feel like the outsider of each culture that they've been raised in. That's how I feel anyway. I feel like I'm the outsider. Like on my Caucasian side of the family, they're like, you should have a job and you should have middle income, but they don't see the downfalls of, being black is, and the black side's like, or African side or whatever name you want to say, it's like, why aren't you, you act too white, why are you saying all these white words and stuff like that? Why are you acting this way? You never be white, something like that, That's the example I took from my wife. My wife deals with her family anyway. That just gives you an example of the whole thing, It's hardship. That's why I said there is a hardship in being mixed. Two cultures in your head with all the negatives you get from inside perspective with outsider treatment. So it's weird. You have an insider perspective and you have an outsider perspective on both cultures that you were raised in. So you have a mix of both things. It negatively affects you. It makes you confused about who you are because you're not getting the same treatment as someone that's fully in that culture. and you see the divide. Like here in America, you know, the divide is big when it comes to economics. You know, a Caucasian will make $100,000 a year, medium income, while a black or African will have an income of a medium of $6,000 a year. I seen that as a kid. You know, I seen my parents having, you know, a great income, you know, living in a house, had income, you know, and then I go down to Ohio where my black family is at, you know, and they're barely getting by, you know, and I listen to my father say, well, why do they sleep in all day? Why don't they get up, you know, like this and that, you know, why he has a failing business and everything else, you know, being popped up by a white lady that is getting a good income because, you know, she's white. The reason my father's getting a good income is because he's in a household that most black people can't even get because they don't have the money and they're stuck into a cycle of living in this certain area that never has any prospecting givings to it, you know, unless you are selling drugs, and then if you're selling drugs, then you're in the whole cycle of going to jail and then getting a felony and then going through the whole cycle and stuff, and then you have to stay in the same cycle. And it's, you know, that's just the worst of being in a bad neighborhood. You know, that's not the good thing is that you can climb out of it and get a good, decent job and, you know, become somebody good and have, you know, if you work at it, you know, you can find a job, but always connected to the gang members. It doesn't matter, you know, you're connected to it. Somehow, some way, you're involved in the underworld, and that's the one thing, you know, white people never had to ever deal with in their whole entire life, is be dealing with the underworld, you know, dealing with people that kill, people that sell drugs, people that cheat, lie, steal. They don't have to deal with any of that, because they live in the suburb where none of that stuff happens, or they live in rural areas where none of that stuff happens. If it does, it's very rare, and it's already being dealt with by the police, or it's being hidden and no one knows about it. I don't know, you know, those are the negatives of both cultures. One doesn't experience hardship, the other one experiences hardship. You know, I don't know, I'm in the middle of this, and I don't want to be a part of it at all. I don't want to sit here and put down black people, and I don't want to sit here and put down white people, but I'm in the middle of it, and I see the insides of both, and white people just fucked me up, you know, and then saved me at the same fucking time. It's weird. It's like, you know, I don't know, and then black people, you know, what did I get from black people, you know? From black people, I got a house, I got a van, I was able to live comfortably for 10 years, you know, because of being mixed. That's the reason I got everything I have, is because I'm mixed. I got into programs that helped me out to be successful in a way, I guess. You know, I got to be a little bit above what regular black people are at. You know, their medium incomes. I had to be a little bit above that for a little while, which helped me, you know, get a house, car. You know, I got a van from church, from a black person. I got something from black. I got something from white people too, you know. From white people, I got, you know, my house fixed up, carpet in there, you know. I had to pay for the carpet, but, you know, I had to pay for everything in the house. My wife's side of the family fixed it together for me. So, you know, family mixed together, you know. But these are all emotional things, you know, like, you know, I haven't gotten fucked up by, you know, white people or black. You know, except for when I was a kid, you know, I got fucked up by both sides, you know. When I was a kid, I got beat up a lot. I don't know, that's why I'm so angry all the damn time. White people beat me up, black people beat me up, Mexicans beat me up, going to hurt me or whatever, you know. I don't know, anyway, that's my video. I'm done talking about it. Maybe next time I'll have a script. I'm waiting for my screw to come in so I can put my tablet on top of the camera and start talking a script, you know, which will be better than me just yapping on, saying random shit. Crap, you know, still saying, black Americans, or, you know, I've been thinking, I'm like, you know, with all the tragedies that's happened to brown, yellow, and black people, right?
It's like, how does this really happen, you know? I'm just saying, you know, a black UN, it's not like fucking,
you know, so being with these borders and shit, you know, like, up in
it's
Canada,
coming from anger because both sides, black
like,
and white,
there, you know, there's native
extremists try to kill me. So I'm just pissed off. I'm trying to correct the extremists anyway, but I don't know how the hell that happens anyway, right? So
And we have all
you already seen this video, right?
all the facts
why do I need to put it all
what
the way
happened
up?
to brown people.
So,
You know, it's like Afghanistan. You can go, all these places. There's always brown people. They get